The Federal Communications Commission has approved the strongest regulations ever on broadband providers, and in so doing has brought us nearly every element of net neutrality that liberals have been pushing for over the past few years. We've got all the details, including one or two areas in which liberals did not get what they wanted. The agency's new policy reclassifies broadband, both fixed and mobile, as more heavily regulated telecommunication services, more like a traditional telephone service than the information services they had previously been regulated as. Internet providers will be banned from blocking or slowing any traffic and from striking deals with content companies, known as paid prioritization, for smoother delivery of traffic to consumers. And in addition, the FCC is also expected to expand its authority over so-called interconnection deals, in which content companies such as Netflix pay broadband providers to connect with their networks. The FCC would review complaints on a case-by-case basis. And it's important to reference that Netflix deal because I think that that's one of the main big news stories of the past few years that's really galvanized a lot of support for net neutrality. Without that, we might not be where we are today.
Yeah. Now,
3-2 vote, but...
Yeah, here's my summary of what happened. We won, and so this is great. So let me explain who we are. The American people. Okay. Now, people who wanted to protect the internet, who didn't want it to change. This is a case where we don't want change, right? We want the internet to stay exactly as it is, and that's what net neutrality does. So the broadband service providers are the ones that are being regulated here, not the internet, okay? So the internet is going to stay as it is. The reason I have to repeat that is because conservatives have been waging a campaign pretending that, in fact, they're the ones trying to protect the internet from government interference that would change it, which is 100% opposed to the truth. Now, the other people that are in that we category, and why you can trust me on this, even if you're a conservative, libertarian, whatever it might be, and normally hate me, is that you've got giant media companies whose whole business depends on being on the right side of this issue. So Facebook, Google, Netflix, they don't want the internet messed with because they've made a lot of money this way, and if you change the rules on them, it gives enormous leverage to Comcast and Verizon and the other providers, right, AT&T, et cetera. So they don't want that. They're not confused by conservative propaganda. It's not like, oh, which way will the internet stay the same? I cannot quite tell. There is ads on both sides, right? No, they know. They want to keep the internet like this. But it's not just that. As I've said in the past, part of the reason we won, yes, we've got those giant companies. Yes, 4 million people signed, basically a letter to the FCC saying, we want net neutrality, we want to keep the internet as it is. But the last part of it is there was a ton of investors who would put in money into the internet, assuming that the rules would stay in place and that Republicans, conservatives, whoever else, Comcast, wouldn't come in and change the rules and basically fix the system in favor of certain companies and against everyone else. And Comcast was almost, and it's not just Comcast, all those broadband providers, almost was able to do that because of money in politics. They poured hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying, campaign donations, et cetera. But then when Facebook, Google, and the investors, who are even richer than those companies, fought back, we ironically won because it was a problem created by money in politics, which was ironically solved by money in politics.
They also almost won because this is one of the issues where I think the fewest number of Americans actually understand which side anyone is on. Like it's very difficult to explain in a short period of time what being for or against net neutrality is. And sort of similar to how the tobacco companies tried to retain their business practices without extra taxation and stuff like that for as long as possible, not by making the case that cigarettes are good for you, but just muddying the waters. That's what the conservative response to Democrats pushing for net neutrality has been. Trying to fool people into thinking that net neutrality is bad for them, not understanding who or what is going to be regulated. And I think, sort of related to that, this is one of the, I think, the most interesting political battles that I've seen in a long time because there is no conservative argument that could theoretically convince someone to be on their side. It has to be just muddying the waters because The only people that would benefit from what the Republicans wanted the FCC to do is a very limited number of companies. And not even all companies. Like, this is just a few telecoms. But then many of the other media outlets like Amazon and like Netflix and things like that, Hulu, they're only going to lose money off of it. People aren't going to benefit. And that's why you see things like Rush Limbaugh saying that now every blog is going to have to get a license like they're a radio station.
That's
just
not
a
true.
flat-out lie.
He's saying they're calling it ObamaNet, which is made up.
It's not regulating any content.
Yeah. And again, they probably do an Obama a favor. You know, they called it Obamacare, and now all these people are insured, and they love it. And they're like, and he's like, thanks for calling it Obamacare. And if you call the internet ObamaNet, then
people
you're
are
giving
already
them
in
way
favor
too
of
much
it.
credit. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, and they're not like saying that they're like Fox's article about it today was that this is drastically changing how everyday Americans use the internet. It's not at all. It is not in any way changing how a regular person uses the internet.
So that's worse than any Bill O'Reilly lie. Okay, because it sets out to deceive their audience, and it does it on a mass scale, which gives you a sense of what Fox News is actually about, right? They didn't hire Bill O'Reilly by mistake. They didn't realize in hindsight, oh, golly gee, he told some lies. Yeah. No, they hired him to tell the lies. Yeah. So when you put out on their website that this would drastically change the internet, they know it's not true. They're trying to get you to trick you into believing it is. So think about what John is saying, right? If they wanted to be honest, they could have come out and said, hey, listen, we're going to mess with the internet. We're going to change the rules entirely, and we're going to let the broadband providers slow down some websites, speed up some other websites. We're going to give them the power to be able to charge basically a ransom, and whoever is rich enough to pay the ransom can have their website at normal speed, and everybody else will be slowed down. We're going to give these broadband providers enormous, almost monopoly power. Yeah. And we're going to do it
effectively censorship power.
Yeah, and we're going to do it by changing the law, which is pretty much the definition of crony capitalism. Okay, and we're proud of it. Yeah. Now, of course, but that's the reality. But they can't say that. You can't say that. So that's why they had to pretend to be on our side. They had to pretend that they were protecting the internet while trying to destroy it, and that's how you know you're on the wrong side when you have a meeting internally. I mean, I wish we had tape on that, right? Oh, where they had to have the internal meeting and be like, is there any way we can spin this where we would be somewhat telling the truth? And they decided, no, there's no way. Yeah. So let's all, Republicans, all the people we bought off, everybody, pretend we're the ones doing what they're actually doing. Yeah. Wow, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like liberals getting together and be like, is there any way we can win on the death penalty? No, the American people love the death penalty. We can't win on that. So, all right, why don't we pretend we're on the side of killing people?
Yeah. No. In this case, it would be trying to convince people that in the death penalty, sometimes you die. Like they kill the victim. That's what it would be. It would literally be saying the death penalty kills the victim of crimes as often as it kills the perpetrator.
Yeah. They just made it up. It's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, luckily they lost today. Now, of course, all the broadband providers will now go to court. Yes. And they will pursue a litigation on this to try to knock down the rule. That's because they're for tort reform. Oh, wait, that's weird. It turns out
they want to gum up the system.
Yeah, it turns out they love litigation when they're the ones suing. Yeah. Another piece of hypocrisy to add onto the pile.
Now, one area that arguably liberals lost in is there will not be what's called last mile unbundling, basically forcing the telecoms who lay down the initial wires, pipes, however you want to define it, straight into people's homes. They will not be required to lease those out into potential competitors like they have at various points over the past 15 years or so. That will not be required. It's an area the FCC could have chosen to regulate, but they will not. So that is not one area that the liberals arguably won in, although I think it's kind of a mixed bag, because if that were to be the case, if they were to be forced to lease out that last mile, you would see more competition, which I think many parts of America desperately need. But at the same time, that is one area in which when the telecoms say that we would be stifling innovation or investment, theoretically they would be right.
About the investment part.
Yeah, and there's one other area. They have come out and attacked, representatives of Time Warner Cable and things like that have come out and attacked this decision, saying that it is stifling innovation. There's one way that they're right. The innovation, the one big innovation that they've really been working on over the past few years is, oh shit, so we can just slow down major websites and then they'll just pay us extra money to bring it back to the right speed? That was innovative, and it has been stifled.
So, look, that's a mixed bag on that last piece of the ruling. It doesn't mess with your internet. It's just about who profits more, right? So as long as they keep the internet as it is, you know, they can have their reindeer games on who's going to make more money. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Competition is a good thing. I mean, we say liberals, but it's theoretically the conservative position to be in favor of competition. But here, the conservatives are fighting against competition when they want to give monopoly power. But to be fair, the Time Warners and all those, they did lay down the pipes, right? They did lay it down. Now, it's greatly frustrating to a lot of us when we don't have another choice in a provider, and then we have to wait, and it doesn't work, and all that stuff. And it would have been great for the consumers if we got choice at the end. We don't have it, but at least they have a leg to stand on in that case.